Hands up if you know what an SDG is. Okay, there's a flutter. This is great. We are in the right place. And for those that don't, you will soon, because our next panel is Metaverse for Good. That's always nice to hear. Prize competitions to drive UN sustainability goals. Now, I like to shoot zombies in the face as much as the next person, but what if we could harness immersive and experiential technologies to build education, awareness, empathy around the major challenges facing humanity, of which there are many. Leading a panel to discuss these outcomes is founder of Gallerist, Michael Schroeder. Good job, Mike. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Happy you could join us, both online and in person. This has been very exciting. The engagement that we've had, being in person, meeting people, and learning about what we can do with AR and VR and XR, and what we can do with each other. And one of the exciting things to do is we get ideas. And these ideas come, and we can build on these ideas. Now, one of the encouragement that we can have to build something is we can get money for them. We can actually impact the world. We can do something for good and possibly win a prize. So those of you who are interested, we have over $100,000 in prize money talking about 2 specific competitions that are open for people who want to build experiences and build solutions and build educational experiences in XR, in AR, in VR. And I'd like to have these 2 presentations, these two groups, talk about the presentations, talk about the competitions, so you can get excited about them. To start off with, I'll have Dace Campbell come introduce himself and talk about the competition.
Thanks, Michael. Do we have a clicker?
I don't have a clicker, I think. No, no clicker. We are looking for a clicker.
Behind.
There we go.
Thank you. Hi there. My name is Dace Campbell. I am missing my first slide. There we are. I've been involved in XR for a number of decades, specifically through the lens of an architect working in architecture and construction in the AEC industry. I'm here today in the capacity of representing AWE as the manager of the XR Prize competition. So as you probably saw yesterday, Ori in his keynote announced the XR Prize challenge to help to leverage or to harness XR to fight climate change. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more detail about that. So to begin, I want to talk about the challenge that we're facing as a society, as a planet. And the challenges are many. I mean, first of all, climate change is by far the most urgent and long-term threat to life as we know it. We've got too many wasteful practices in resource and energy consumption in all facets of life. And to make it worse, the causes and the effects of climate change, while understood intellectually, are not necessarily understood viscerally or emotionally. There's a disconnect between our daily habits in our lives and what could happen on the other side of the planet as a result of those. Furthermore, the communication platforms and the communities built around addressing climate change are currently insufficient. And while there's a lot of solutions out there to fight climate change, those who create those solutions, their voices are not always heard or their ideas are not always well understood. And then finally, there are a number of professionals, engineers, both designing and building solutions, and they need spatial media to help optimize what those solutions are. So there's a number of challenges we face as we address climate change. So this is where AWE has staked a claim to say XR is something, is a tool, is a medium that can step in and help address some of those needs. So the opportunity is simple. I mean, XR has already started to chip away at the wasteful consumption of resources and energy. We're already using the medium around the globe to help reduce travel, to help reduce demands on real estate, to help optimize some manufacturing processes. But frankly, that's not enough. We need to do a lot more as the XR community, both hardware and software and applications, all aspects of it. We need to be able to leverage XR's strength to help visualize, to help make the problem of climate change relatable to the individual, no matter who they are or where they are in the globe. We need to leverage XR to help engage like-minded people around the globe, to help build that community and help prompt people to take action. And finally, we need to leverage XR to help those professionals who are already engineering solutions to help them optimize and get the absolute right solution. And climate change and addressing climate change is often cast as an economic opportunity. It is that, but frankly, it's a fight for our survival, and we need to put all resources, all hands on deck. And if your specialty is in XR, there's a place for you to help address climate change from your own point of view. So the competition is open, and we've got 4 categories. I think Ori covered these yesterday in the keynote, but just to reinforce that, we're going to have 4 categories. One is solutions that replace or reduce the wasteful consumption of resources. Second, the ability of XR to help visualize the causes and effects of climate change, to leverage XR as a way to help educate people about what solutions are out there and what can be done about it, and finally to help those professionals, maybe at the enterprise level, to optimize those solutions to address climate change. Real quick, there'll be judging criteria for this XR prize, specifically around creativity, functionality, and impact. You can see the fine print about kind of what that means to us and how the judges will be looking at entries. And I just want to touch briefly on the timeline. There's some key milestones. You can see here, it's a bit of an eye chart. We're in October. The registration for the competition's already been open for a few months, but the competition effectively kicks off today at this event. There's the rest of this year, the rest of this calendar year is when we're accepting concept submissions. We'll cut that off at New Year's. We'll review those and make sure that they're acceptable. And then we'll have the spring to allow all the competitors to submit an MVP. We're looking for solutions, not just concepts. So concepts to get in the door, solutions due in mid-April. We'll judge those solutions. We're anticipating, we may have several hundred entries. We'll probably likely, through the judging, pick our favorites, maybe top 10, top 15 or so. And those top finalists will be invited to present live at AWE in June in Santa Clara, California. And then we'll have the live judging, and the winner will be announced at that event. So with that, I just want to repeat what Ori said. This is our chance to actually leverage XR tools to actually take a stand and help fight climate change and help save the planet, frankly.
Thank you, Dace. Next, I'd like to have Samantha Aguiar, the Chief Design Officer of Exponential Destiny, and Marcus Shingles talk about their contest.
Hello, everybody. My name is Samantha Aguilar. I am a part of, let's see. Oh, there you go. Okay. I am a part of Exponential Destiny. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, specifically based in education. This is our leadership team right here, and as you notice, we're all a little on the younger end. And this kind of sparked when our 2 co-founders, Marcus and Marco, reconnected again in 2020, but our roots go back to 2014. So as you can see, we've kind of been recently involved in a lot of media, specifically around this competition and what we're doing. But if you would like to hear a little more about us specifically, you can meet us at another event after. So specifically, just as a high-level overview of the timeline of this competition, we first initially announced this competition at the United Nations ITU conference in February of this year. This was just a soft launch. We just briefly introduced it, and we had the introductory keynote for the conference. Back in May/June of this year, we did an official launch of the competition at the Generations Connect Youth Summit. This was a summit with over 5,000 youth that attended from all over the world. Right now, the competition is currently ongoing. So from June 2022 to March 2023, this is when participants have time to create their experiences. And then this whole competition is going to end with the summit called the Metaverse for SDGs Global Summit, where we will announce winners, award prize money, and then have a lot of guest speakers. And now to go over, Some of the statistics of the competition is we have over 700 registrants to date at the moment across over 65 countries, and registration will be open until December 31st of 2022. So from December to March, this is when everybody will have a chance to create their experience. And now to pass it on to talk about some of the objectives, I will pass it to our co-founder, Marcus.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, so this was a summit, as Sam mentioned. It was an initiative we did with the United Nations, specifically the ITU agency. The ITU agency of the UN is the group that's responsible over the last 30 years for developing global standards around the internet, as well as other digital technologies that involve communication. So the ITU is the authoritative source body that will be defining global standards for the UN around the metaverse. So they're supporting us in this initiative, specifically at the Secretary General level of the ITU. We've raised to date over $200,000 in prize money. We expect probably to double that by the time we finish. That money will be allocated to the 17 finalists across the 17 Sustainable Development Goals for 2 age categories, 14 to 18-year-olds as its own category with 17 winners, 1 per SDG, and then 19-year-olds and above. I'll highlight some of the objectives of the competition. First, with the support of the UN ITU, our objective was to try to get exposure across the globe so people can start developing this as a new skill set. The work our nonprofit does is we work with individuals in low-income communities and we upskill them into this as a profession. And we're doing that now while it's relevant. That's what our nonprofit does. So this was a means in which to do a massive upskilling of people across the world by getting them involved in this competition. The data, as you guys are probably familiar, shows that XR, whether you're an engineer or even on the creative side, is a skill set that will make you employable in the emerging job economy around Metaverse. What we've done as a nonprofit is, with the 700 people that have registered to date, every 2 weeks we have an information session online as a way to do like a massive training of all the people that are competing in this competition. We publish that on our YouTube channel, and that's everything from learning design thinking to social emotional learning in virtual reality to doing some of the technical skills that are required. So we try to lead the 700 people through this training so they can be active participants in the competition. The second objective is that they then apply this towards a sustainable development goal. So the way this works, and all of you here in the audience and at the summit can participate in this, you're actually one of the target audience. The way it works is you take one of the sustainable development goals that you have an affinity to, that you're passionate about. You form a team. The team can have a minimum of 2 people, a maximum of 6 people. In your age category, 14 to 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds or above. You're not trying to build an environment that will solve the SDGs. Your goal is to build education, awareness, and empathy on the goals. So we announced it in February at the UN Summit. In Kigali, Rwanda is when we launched it officially. Up until December 31st is when the registration's open. So there's still over 2 months left to register as a team. March is when the competition will be over. And then June or later is when we will be having a summit with the United Nations ITU, either in Geneva or New York City, which will be the venue in which we give out all the awards, but also it will be a discussion about how each sustainable development goal is being impacted by XR. The fourth and final objective is the criteria. If you enter this competition, your environment that you create, your story that you create, where you're going to use your imagination, we will judge you on how well you educated people on the issues or opportunities with that SDG, built awareness, and created empathy, some emotion through your immersive experience. Again, not a competition for the goals. Many of you have seen the study as far as the effectiveness of virtual reality as a form to educate people. We're essentially taking that increased effectiveness in education, applying it to the goals, and that's how we led to the competition. And then finally, what we think is going to be a beautiful thing is, come June of next year at the award ceremony, we'll have the 17 finalists for each of these crowdsourced innovations to build education, awareness, and empathy around these goals. And we think we'll have a real true example of the metaverse being used for good as an educational tool for perhaps for the UN as a whole, but definitely for the ITU division of the UN. How you can get involved? If you would like to recruit a team in your local community, you could champion a team. We will even help you with team recruitment, pay for your travel if you help us recruit additional teams. We have headsets we're donating and giving it to teams if they can't afford teams. Out of the 700 registrants that Sam mentioned, over half of that is from countries in Africa. So we're giving headsets to people that need it. If you're passionate about one of the Sustainable Development Goals and you're part of the VR, XR community, come talk to us, because perhaps you can be a judge. Perhaps you can be at the summit next June facilitating a panel for us on one of the SDGs. It's one of the reasons we came to this summit, is to try to connect to people who are supportive of the SDGs but in the XR community. And last but not least, in about 20 or 30 minutes, we're having another breakout where Sam and I will be talking a little bit more detail about this if you join us in one of the side rooms. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the moderator. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So whenever I start a project, I look at what the end goal that I want to get to. How would you, to ask both of you, how would you define success? Come to the end of this, project out. What's success for you within this project? And I'll ask you, Dace, as well. Well, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So there's two criteria for success. One is, with all the hype around Metaverse and all the commercialization, I don't think there's been a good example yet of how virtual reality and XR can be used for some really social impact initiatives. Our goal is not to solve these SDGs, but we already know that VR has a great use case in being more effective to educate people through immersive and experiential learning. So I think what we hope is that come June of next year, we have 17 beautiful crowdsourced examples that rose to the top. The world looks at that and they get exposure to the fact, like, wow, this really is a great art form, it's a great medium to really learn things in ways I couldn't get learned before, and even change the empathetic reaction to it. And that's one of the big goals that we have.
Samantha, do you have anything to add to that from your different perspective?
I would say a goal would be to just get people exposed to this. Just because I come from a lower income community, I grew up where technology is not really a big importance. A big importance is just continuing to go to school.
Yeah.
So we don't really get to see any of these technologies until after it's popular, after everybody's already in it. So I want to just expose other people that don't really get the opportunity to get exposed to it.
Can I just ask you, what was your first experience with XR?
I would say in 2014, I don't even know if this is, well, technically it's XR, so I'm not sure if you guys remember those like Google Cardboard VR glasses where you would slide your phone. That's kind of the first time I ever experienced it, and I was amazed by that. And it was just my phone in a cardboard box.
The thing I'd highlight about Samantha is, Samantha, besides coming from a marginalized community that doesn't get access to this tech, we've gone back to her high school and introduced it into the whole high school to try to transform education learning. Samantha, who's on our team, she's one of the most effective resources at creating these spaces. She's an art major, so she's not technical. And a lot of these platforms have become basically PowerPoint in 3D.
Yeah.
So we're not expecting people, even for our competition, we don't expect people to get into Unity and code these environments. We expect them to get into these 3D versions of PowerPoint that are now out there and start creating around the SDGs. So to be clear, the competition, the 700 people that we've got in our competition, they fill out a survey, almost all of them are non-technical.
Right.
They're not going to do any coding to be part of this competition. That's one of the things that makes it accessible to everybody.
That's awesome. Dave?
Yeah, I would think the XR prize, we could judge its success maybe along 3 criteria.
Yeah.
One, we've built some strong engagement between the XR community and the climate change or the sustainability community. I mean, that should outlive the duration of this competition, but really get those two audiences engaged with each other and informing each other. 2, we are looking for a demonstrable solution. Something that somebody can say, here's an idea, here's a proof of concept, it can work. And then 3rd, maybe the obvious, is somebody walks home with a $100,000 smile.
That's awesome. Now, I look at these 2 different competitions. I see really 2 different bends in them. One is creating a solution, and one is getting people involved, educating them, seeing that awareness. So with both of these different sort of flavors of solutions, what are some other ways that people can help if they're not going to be specifically participating in building something or having a team? What's some other ways that they can participate?
Yeah, so certainly we want people to enter the competition and submit. And by all means, if you have an idea that you think is worth pursuing, we want that. But there's a number of other ways to get involved. We're building out our roster of judges and mentors and coaches, but that roster is not yet full. So we're looking for people who have a point of view who could actually help mentor and coach some teams who have resource gaps. We are looking for a couple more judges to fill out the judging panel. And we're looking for tech partners, frankly. We've got a couple of technology partners who have approached AWE to say, hey, I'd like to offer my solution to make it available for the competitors. And so we're really looking to partner with people who can either apply their software or their hardware solutions to the competition.
And you too?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned this a little briefly. We have a lot of mentors. I mean, our nonprofit is essentially a mentorship. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people that reach out to say, look, I'm a university professor, or I'm an individual in my community and there's a local school that is somewhat under-resourced and I love what you guys are doing, how can I help? Well, what you can do is you can actually go to your local community school, or if you're a professor and you already have a class of students, let us know, because we will work with you to actually on-ramp some individuals to upskill them and get them in this competition. And we'll even, some individuals like in Africa, we're actually paying for the guy's airfare as he goes to different countries so he can actually operate it, so he can actually do it and do it effectively. So that's one way you can get involved with us, is make this some teamwork. The other point is, when we do have the summit post-June with the UN, with the ITU, we are going to make the agenda around the 17 SDGs where we show good examples of XR for each SDG. Between now and then, we plan on combing the universe here to try to figure out who in the XR community also has a real affinity to one of the SDGs. For example, I met a woman yesterday who's focused on gender equality, and she's an expert in that space, and she's working on VR experiences to around that space. I'm like, great. Let's talk, because we might want you to be the moderator of some panel come June of next year. So we are looking for those individuals.
Got it. Now, within the different 17 goals, are you looking for one winner for each goal, or are you just looking at all the things you submit and said these are the top ones?
Out of the $200,000 to $300,000 we've raised, the prize money is going to be allocated where we give money to each of the 17 top winners, and then we're going to give an overall best of show. And then we'd even like to give some honorable mentions, like the team that has the most diversity in the team, male, female, or other, right? But that's how we're going to allocate all the prize money, yeah.
And the AWE contest just opens up today. You've had some pre-registrations. Can you tell us any trends that you're seeing then? I'd like to see also the trends that you've seen with registrations for your contest.
Sure.
Yeah, when pre-registration started for the XR prize, we've got a couple hundred entries at this point, or people submitting their interest. The trends we've seen across those pre-registered submissions, if you will, is actually what informed the 4 categories. Because there seemed to be a fair amount of diversity that aligned to those 4 categories of the competition. The one in particular that has the most attention right now is the one where people want to visualize the causes and effects of climate change.
Yeah.
So that could be telling. One, it might be perhaps best aligned to XR today, or aligned to people's interests, but it's also very telling that maybe there's a greater opportunity to win in one of the other categories that's less popular.
Yeah, definitely. What trends have you been seeing?
Go ahead, Sam.
I would say when our pre-registration started, it was a pretty steady growth, but when we went to the Generations Connect Youth Summit, that's when we had a huge influx of participants registering and getting excited, just because I think as youth, we're seeing this as an opportunity to be able to learn something new, a new skill set that we can use when we want to achieve something greater. Yeah,
and it's about, it's almost 50-50 male-female, which is really nice out of the 700.
Yeah.
It's pretty evenly split, which is awesome. We asked people, what level of current understanding do you have of VR and XR? Predominantly, it's I've never used VR or XR, which is what we wanted.
Yeah.
So getting people exposed. The age groups, it's actually the 14 to 18-year-olds is about 35% of that pie chart. The 75% of it is, or about 70 to 65% of it is the 19-year-old or older category. It's kind of the demographics. Oh, the other interesting thing is we asked people that registered, why are you doing this prize? I mean, we as a nonprofit are doing it. There's no cost to do it.
Yeah.
But why are you competing in this? And the prize money is actually like 5th on the list. The top one is I think this is a new skill set that I need to learn to be relevant to the job economy.
Yeah.
That's the very top, predominantly top reason. And the second reason is I'm passionate about the Sustainable Development Goals. I think this is a great way to bring to life and give people awareness around that.
One of the things that we all sort of found during the pandemic was that community didn't have to be bounded by geography or proximity. Are you finding any teams that are assembling from different locations and assembling via Zoom, Teams, Google Meetups, things like that, who may not even be physically connected using
You want to mention the
virtual?
Facebook page?
Yeah, I would definitely say there's a lot of teams that aren't physically together. We have a Facebook page or group where we actually encourage them to connect with people from outside of their comfort zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're finding the same thing, that the teams are geographically dispersed.
Yeah. It's interesting. We're here at a conference about augmented reality, virtual reality, and we're in person. And it makes a lot of sense being in person, but we really want to expose the virtual nature of this and the bringing communities that are not bound by proximity or geography. I think that's really exciting.
The other thing that's important is the reason we're doing this is to try to make people realize this is a skill set that's really important to learn now, because in my day job where I work with corporate CEOs, the demand is already happening. I mean, if you're an executive in a company, you have a fiduciary responsibility to at least pilot something in VR at this point. There needs to be a workforce to supply that. So that's why we're reaching out particularly to these under-resourced communities to say, learn the skill set now, rather than it being taught to you in a classroom 30 years after it was invented, which is kind of what we're doing with web development now.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much. For the audience here who are connecting via online, via in-person, the opportunity to mentor is something that is really deep in my heart, and there's an opportunity in both of these competitions to work with people, bring them up to speed, help them, help guide them, help lead them, help coach them. That's a big need throughout our industry, and really try to reach out within organizations you're in, or definitely within these prize competitions. Thank you very much for joining me here on the stage and talking about these wonderful competitions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.